forward seaman's mess. This was home from home. This is where a good part of the crew would have had their stuff and slept and eaten, and well, it would have been pretty cramped, all those people in here.
To be honest with you, Dan, obviously having to be in an ex-tanky and working in a turret most of the time, I think this is pretty spacious.
Yeah, but you're used to inhuman levels of crowding. I mean, there would have been a lot of guys in here, and in heavy weather, you'd have been crashing over these massive waves, being thrown around. It would have been extraordinary. And actually, everyone would have been in hammocks, weren't they? These bunks weren't put in until the 60s, so they've all been swinging around the roof at night.
Yeah, I mean, there were 47 guys there, which is like you say about the bunks, but quite interestingly, we found this one here. One of these bunks can actually be turned into a little bed as well, so a little seat here, take off the cover, and you open it up, and admittedly, not a lot of width in there, but it's looks like quite a comfy bed.
You'd have been all right there, but I think people would have been on the floor as well. But and during the day, these would have been stowed away. They'd have been tightly wrapped up, packed, and bound and put in this containment area here. And that's not just for sort of naval discipline to make everything look nice. That is also because if, in the event of a terrible damage being done to the ship, a hole being punched through the ship's side, these hammocks would actually be used to block up the hole. So they had their uses.
And another, perhaps much sadder use for these hammocks, of course, is when the seamen died. They'd be put in the hammocks, closed up. The whole thing would be sewn up with the final stitch going through the poor guy's nose.
If it's through the nose, you could be sure that he was actually dead. And then they were tossed. They were still buried at sea in the Second World War.
Buried at sea and weighted down with projectiles as well. Yeah.
Amazing. And this is the room where they slept, yes, but you know, they ate in here. They had their games in here.
Yeah, two guys, two of the crew, every single day will be on duty for the galley to bring the food back down to here. So you know, very regimented lifestyle, really.
Very regimented, and what never changed, of course, is ever since the 1650s, every sailor in the British Navy gets a third of a pint of rum a day, which watered down a bit, called grog. That would have kept the spirits up, wouldn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, personally, I don't think I'd have ever could have eaten on here, because as somebody gets sick even at the mere thought of a boat, I just cannot appreciate what it'd been like to be in here, but I'd been fine with the rum.
But people had a lot of kit as well, didn't they? You could see some of the bags around the edge.
Yeah, the suitcase is quite nice. I was saying to you earlier that I'm feeling really old because I was issued one of these in the British Army when I first joined, but 100 pieces of equipment they had in there, so, you know, actually a lot of equipment they carried on board the ship.
And it would all have been checked, inspected every day. Checked and inspected, and if it wasn't right, it would have been checked the next day as well. Discipline held up at all times. But I think the weirdest thing about life aboard these ships is just the uncertainty of what's coming next. And if you look at, there was a story about a destroyer that was anchored off Shetland. They were told the following night they were going to attack a target in a Norwegian field. So you just never knew what was coming.
But surely, Dan, I mean, if you were issued warm kit on board, you know you were off somewhere, you know, up north somewhere.
Yeah, well, that's true. You had the right kit. Except that, of course, there's all the famous saying in the British forces that if you were issued warm weather, like, you know, warm like jumpers and woolen clothing, you're almost certainly heading south.
Yeah, I haven't experienced that personally. I have to agree with you.